Hey guys, George of SoundTraxx here. This week I want to show you an installation that I did recently on this Proto 2000 GP30. Now, in this particular installation, I used a product from a friend of ours, Nick's Trains, called the Decoder Buddy. I'm sure many of you guys have heard that before. So I'm going to show you a couple little tips and hints that I used when I did this installation so that maybe you can use those on your next Nick's Decoder Buddy and SoundTraxx Tsunami 2 installation. So let's get started. Now, we're going to go ahead and open this Proto 2000 GP30 up so we can show you what we did. Now, first things first, we do remember that a lot of these Proto 2000 back in the lifelike era were designed with a lot of weight, and so there was not a lot of weight built into the model. So the first thing we had to do was to mill the weight. So when I open this, we're actually going to show you the finished milled weight that made room for my speaker. So when I remove this shell, on the inside, I've done a lot of the standard things you've seen me do, where I light up the class lights on the front, the number boards, and headlights, each with their own LEDs, and then I do the same thing on the back. Now, we have this one single wire that I call it an umbilical cord that kind of comes out. But what I've done is with all the wires going to this little daughter board, I just take the shell and twist it a few times so that all the loose wires are kind of tucked up in this umbilical cord so that you don't have a bunch of loose wires coming around. So the cool thing about the Decoder Buddy is that you can actually remove this small daughter board just like that and take the shell aside for servicing. But inside the body shell here, now what you can see is I've actually milled this weight down flush all the way across. So I've got place to mount my two cube speakers and the Decoder Buddy. And I've milled it low enough that the 21 pin clears the body shell, but also I leave enough weight that I have insulation from the motor, which is sitting right here. Now, of course, I have my wires coming up into the model. They come up through this channel here, and then up through a hole that I've drilled in this weight frame here to attach to the various locations on the locomotive. Now, a couple of things, and this is where I want to point it out. On this particular locomotive, I've actually installed truck lights. But as you can see, when the body shell comes off, the truck lights in the frame would have to still be here. So the question is, how do we do this? Well, one of the difficult parts of using the Decoder Buddy is that the only real lighting output connections they do are on this daughter board. And so what happens when you have a combination of lights on the frame as well as lights in the shell, now you eliminate that possibility to remove that daughter board for servicing. So what I did was I very carefully tested and found out which one of the feet on this connector for the daughter board is matched up to the appropriate one that I wanted to use. And in this case, I wanted these truck wires to be attached to the FX5. So what I did is I went underneath here and I found which one of these was wired to the FX5 lighting output and connected the wires directly here. There's nothing on the daughter board as far as resistors or anything like that that's needed. All the resistors are here on the actual Nick's Decoder Buddy on the circuit board itself. And so therefore there's no additional needed for resistors to be on the daughter board. So this allows us to do it. Now I will tell you it does take a fine hand and a fine tip soldering iron to get in there to make that. So be patient, take your time. And if you're not sure about your soldering skills, be sure to check out our webinar number 8 so you can brush up on your soldering skills. Now on the Decoder Buddy, on this daughter board, one of the couple of things I do is first off, when I'm done soldering, I actually trim the excess off of the underside of the Decoder Buddy. That way I don't have any loose wires that potentially can come down and touch on any of the parts that are actually on the circuit board. The other thing has to do with labeling. Now the Decoder Buddy is following more of the European style lettering or numbering as far as the lighting outputs are concerned. So they have a headlight and backup light, and then everything else on theirs is considered an auxiliary light. So you have aux 1, aux 2, aux 3, aux 4, and so on. Well, the SoundTraxx decoders are actually labeling headlight and backup light as not a guaranteed, but they can be repurposed to be used for any other purpose. So you have a FX1 is our headlight, FX2 is our backup light. Now FX3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are the additional lighting outputs. So with the headlight and backup light being on the European style and then aux 1 being the first auxiliary light, that would then match up with the FX3 on our Tsunami 2 decoders. And so when you're doing these installations this way, you can match it up. So when you wire to the aux 1, you know that you're actually connecting to the FX3 lighting output. So that way when you do your CV programming and adjustments, that way you can use the FX3 lighting output CVs for function mapping and lighting effect to make it match. Now the only thing left to do on this installation is actually go get a 21 pin decoder and plug it in. So guys, I hope this has been helpful for you. I've showed you in the past how to wire these lights up in here. If you're not sure how to do that, go back and check a video where I installed LEDs and class lights into an Athearn GP7 or GP9. You should be able to find that in the description below. But when you're doing this wire management, we've got shrink tubing, everything in here, and then we just attach to our daughter board, and the daughter board only plugs in one way. So I'm going to go get a 21 pin decoder and complete this installation. And that's it for today's video. So guys, you know how to do the setup on these, so we're not going to do the setup on this particular locomotive. For more information, please visit our website at SoundTraxx.com. Be sure to check out our user's guides for the Tsunami 2 and also check out our exciting new Blue Nami.